what's up guys, so I'm coming here with another video, and happy Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. You know, as such, I want to go in a deep dive talking about how do we preserve culture. You know, as conservatives, we're supposed to conserve, right? And so pretty much this is coming from my friend Walter Castillo's pop-up restaurant, Istorya, Origin Stories, a theme about talking about pre-colonial Filipino foods. And you know, so this is a way for me to reutilize the footage that I didn't get to upload and pretty much showcase the interviews that I talking about that very question. How do we preserve our culture, you know? Other than our food, other than our language, what else do we want to preserve? What other parts of our customs and traditions and heritage do we want to preserve? So pretty much going in a deep dive, talking about that, showcasing that, and having a conversation about that, right? And so with that said, what is up? If you're new to this channel, my name is Mitch, Mavic Mitch, Hate Mitch, all the Mitches, the call sign Don, and pretty much I like talking about what I talking about. So current events, reviews, pop culture, sociable commentary, be sure to check out all those videos as you're finishing this video. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe by the feeds and algorithm. With that said, let's get into this.
Hey, what's up guys? So we're here at Laredo Restaurant for Walter Castillo's Historia. We are here with Cheryl Darrow, right? She was with helping and coordinating and doing the Filipino night market a few months back. And so we're talking to her again. And so again, tonight it's talking about the spirit of tonight is preserving, you know, preserving food, preserving culture, preserving things that was Filipinos, right? And so for me, like I said, one big portion is Catholicism. You know, that is something that was big with my family and prayer life and everything. And so what is something in your life that you want to preserve?
One of the biggest things I'd like to preserve is the tradition of food, since we are here with Istorya and we are eating some amazing food tonight. The biggest thing I want to talk about is, I want to say recipes, man. Okay. My grandma's cooking, I feel like everyone's grandma's cooking is the best. My grandma's cooking was the best. And I want to say I would want to preserve her style of cooking, her recipes, her food, and pass that on. And not only that, there's also how she made it, right? So she's from the Philippines, first generation coming in. I was born into a very Filipino family, and watching her, you know, clean a fish. Let's talk about that. Like, she's like, that was my job growing up. And that kind of took something very special as an American to be like, okay, you're gonna actually do the fish, you're gonna totally cut off the chicken's head, you are going to gut the goat, not to get gross about it, but really, like, how about like climb a tree and get a coconut? You know what I'm saying? Like,
industrious, you know?
You know, this is kind of like part of the Filipino tradition. Cooking is such a big part of it. I would love to just preserve that.
Awesome.
Food. Always amazing.
And just real quick, what was the best thing that you ate tonight?
Oh my gosh, the kinilaw was bomb. I will eat that for the rest of my life. 3 meals a day, probably twice on Sunday. Like, let's make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you again, Cheryl. So have a great night.
Bye.
Hey, what's up you guys? So we're here at Laredo Restaurant for Walter Castillo's Historia, talking about origins, talking about pre-colonial food and experience. And so again, the big question of tonight is, you know, other than food, other than language, what other things can we preserve as Filipinos in our culture? You know, I think it is very important because the spirit of tonight is preserving and recognizing our origin stories and ending and our end game. And so how do we preserve everything in between? So again, for me, as I said, always, it's my big thing is being Catholic, right? Like, it's what binds my family together, going to church and praying over meals, praying together times of joy and in sadness. And so it binds us, it gives me like purpose and duty, and it's something that I feel very intrinsic within my Filipino identity. So I'm here with Sunshine. She's also an influencer here in Las Vegas, and so again, I just gave kind of like a quick rundown as far as my thoughts as far as tonight. But what is something that you want to preserve in your own lives?
Okay, I'm sure somebody else that you've asked has already said this, but I really have my reasonings for it. It's a bit more modern, but more recently I've come to realize that I really love, as much as we joke about it, I really love that karaoke is such a big part of Filipino culture. And personally, I would love to preserve that and continue that in, you know, my future generations, because a fond memory that I have is going to the Philippines in the summers when I was younger. My parents would take us for the entire summer breaks, and we would go live at the home that my mom grew up in, and my grandma's house, which was right like in the heart of Manila. And so my grandma, she had a little tindahan, like on the corner. She had the little corner store. I always thought it was so cool that my grandma owned one of those little places that you could go get your little snacks and your coconut paper bag and whatnot. But part of that tindahan also had a little like restaurant, sort of like bar area. And even though, you know, the area was so, like, there was a lot of struggle and, you know, people, it was just, there was a lot of poverty in that area, but people were always so happy there. And something that really amazed me is that karaoke had always been part of every Filipino gathering I went to, but even over there, like on the streets, people had a karaoke machine and were singing karaoke like in the little bar area of my grandma's spot. And so I really love that that's something that's attributed to us, because it's just sharing the joy of music, and it's not even about like being a good singer. You know, anyone and everyone is welcome and invited to take part of the karaoke of the festivities. I just had a birthday recently, a birthday party, and I asked my mom if I could borrow the karaoke machine because my friends were like, is there going to be karaoke? And I was just like, you know, I didn't really think of that, but let's preserve it. Let's do it. So, yeah.
I think that is a good answer. It's a modern answer, but you know, I think it's still part of our lives. We celebrate our lives with music and culture and everything, and so we like entertainment. I think that's a big portion of Filipinos too. Like whether it's comedy to Jokoy, Las Vegas, right? And so we have people in music, you know, and obviously Filipino dancers, and karaoke is part of that. And so I think that is, even though that it seems trivial, well, or not, you know, I think it's small, but it's impactful, because it's, again, like just as much as prayer brings people together, I think singing together brings people together. I think that's very important too. Do you have a favorite karaoke song? What's your to-go karaoke song?
I don't know if it's a go-to karaoke song as much as I wish I could sing this actually well on karaoke, but My All by Mariah Carey.
Okay.
It is such an undertaking, but it's like if I have enough drinks in me, you know, then I'll go for it.
Mine is Lionel Richie, Easy, like Sunday Morning. I also sing like Backstreet Boys. I Want It That Way. And so and let's just like put it out there for people who are watching. Like, you need to, if you don't have your karaoke song down, like that is your like calling card, you know, like that you need a trademark. And so if you haven't had a karaoke song and you're not prepared, because everyone Filipino should be like this. Oh, I don't want to sing on it, and then like Easy like Sunday Morning. Yeah, you know, right? And they just bust it out, right?
You're like, you're almost supposed to act shy at the beginning. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah. Any last things? Anything last things about Historia here?
No, it's just thank you for coming out to our event. We're super excited to just be making waves and just gathering the local Filipino community here in Vegas. And at this point, it's not even just local. There are people that fly in for this is our second event now, and we're so fortunate to have the support of our kababayan from all across the country, you know. So thank you also for being here, and to everybody watching and supporting.
And last thing, where can people find you?
So we are at Istorya LV on Instagram, and then me personally, at the moment, I'm at Sunshine Las Vegas, and I also have a YouTube channel, Sunshine Las Vegas.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was really awesome. So I'm asking these folks, what is something that you in your lives want to preserve?
Yeah, and I think for me personally, it would be more about the arts and the culture.
Okay.
Arts in the way that a lot of our I guess a lot of our community members, like, we're doing like those artistic carvings, and like even the like the instruments. Like, I remember a story of my dad telling me when he first became a musician, he made like an instrument out of a wash bucket and like, you know, coconut strands or whatever, and so it's preserving a lot of that art and culture is really important. And I think for my children, I want them to understand all of the things that I guess my parents were exposed to, and my grandparents, so that they can understand like the importance of where our family's ancestry comes from, and yeah, how arts and culture really impact our lives on a daily basis.
Again, 100% there. I think we embrace our culture. Like for me, like it was even as minimal, or not minimal, but like going through like PCN, going in college and doing Filipino cultural dancing even as a kid, and going out as an adult. And so I think those are very important things to have. I think you kind of mentioned like instruments, and I think that's also very important in the sense that, you know, we have to be kind of like creative like with instruments. So I think that just in creativity in general and being resourceful, I think resourceful, especially for Filipinos who cross an ocean for a better life. I think
like
being,
my dad,
yeah,
right?
I think that also when we talk about preserving, especially crossing an ocean, I think that is something very integral to the Filipino story, experience, and journey. So, any last things? Shout out. What is the best thing that you ate tonight?
It
The
was
chicken.
the chicken, the Cornish game hen.
Cornish
That was
game hen.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And anything you want to else shout out?
Really excited and so happy for Walbert with Istorya. I think this was a brilliant idea, and I really want to see like this continuing to happen, and just keep up the momentum, because it's a great, amazing experience, and we really need to share this with more people. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was great. Awesome. Great one. Hey, what's up, guys? So we're here in La Rhea restaurant for Walbert Castillo's Historia, talking about origins, talking about pre-colonial Philippines and food. You know, when the spirit of tonight is talking about what do we preserve. Obviously, tonight is talking about food, but, you know, we also deal with language and arts and dance. But what is something else that we want to preserve? For me, you know, I'm a big Catholic. I have a rosary on my camera, and so that is something that has provided direction in my life, purpose, and obviously greater glory to God. And so what are some things that you guys want to preserve in your lives?
Mine would be, I'm gonna go deep on this one.
Yeah.
I want to preserve my dad's memories. One of my biggest fears is my parents having dementia, so I would love to preserve my parents' memories of the Philippines, where they grew up, my parents' lands and places, my grandparents' house. So kind of getting emotional, but I would love to preserve my parents' memories.
So do you want to like elaborate that, or you want?
Memories of, like I said, like where they grew up. So my dad is actually kind of rebuilding my grandparents' house in the Philippines. So I really I want to be involved in that, preserving all like the picture frames that my grandparents have, all the statues of like the Catholic, you know, like saints that they have in the house. Because, you know, I see my dad getting so emotional about it. So yeah, I really want to preserve those memories that I can tell for my future kids.
That's really awesome. I mean, likewise, I visited my parents' ancestral home in the Philippines, and so most of the people are back in the States, but I think it's really good to have those things that reminiscent of our past, right, and our heritage and our culture, and I think those are really good aspects to have in our lives.
So mine's kind of similar to yours. It's something more based on family as well. It's the art of caring for other people. I grew up taking care of my sister who has autism. And then also seeing, you know, our parents are first generation immigrants from the Philippines, so of course they sacrificed a lot. They worked at, you know, a young age and still work to this day. So it's the matter of taking care of them as much as I can. And, you know, whether it's just having a good time, enjoying good food, going on trips, to even like the financials, the little things like that. And, you know, caring for others made me become the person I am. I'm a nurse. A nurse practitioner now, so it's in my blood, but I enjoy it. Like I feel like we do it because we really do want people to be cared for, and we just care about other people. We want people to feel like family, whether you're Filipino or not. So, okay.
100%. I think that is something, even though you're doing the stereotype, right? You're a nurse, you know, my sister's a nurse and everything. I'm the other stereotype where I'm military, but I think that speaks, even without us saying it, us having the ability to have hospitality, taking care of our people, healing, you know, and everything. I think that is very Filipino without us saying it, you know? And I feel like that is something definitely we want to preserve. And, you know, when it comes to the motto of the Philippines, it actually is for God, for people, for nature, for country, right? And so I think those are very much aspects of our lives and what we want to take care of. So this was a great conversation. I hope you guys are enjoying tonight with all the great food. And so shout out to Historia. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up, guys? So we're here at Lumpia Restaurant for Wahlberg Castellanos here right next to me for Historia, talking about origin story, talking about Filipino foods and pre-colonial. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the salt. Let's talk about the salt real quick.
So asin tubook is actually, in Filipino, it means unbroken. And so it is one of the rarest salts in the world, and it's actually made in the Philippines by one family in Bohol. Coincidentally, I met the person from Crossroads. Shout out to Lenny DeCarlo for helping us. I met her 3 weeks ago, and so essentially she works with this family in Bohol to distribute it across the world in many culinary kitchens. And so I got the chance to meet with her, and essentially what happened was she ended up providing asin tubook to serve at Historia's pop-up dinner. So the dish ube gratin will be dusted off with salt, and that is actually from the dinosaur egg, so aka asin tubook. And so what's really amazing is that this pre-colonial Filipino sea salt has been around for years, hundreds of years, and so it's about to get extinct in the next 30 or 40 years, according to Lenny. And so our goal is to continue to preserve this and make sure that it is recognized, and we recognize the family in Bohol supporting this initiative and doing it for generations. So I think one of the things, or the topical themes that we're going to discuss tonight, is preserving. How can we preserve our history? How can we preserve our culture and our heritage? At Istorya, it's go with us as we venture out into this culinary journey inspired by Filipino history. We don't want people to eat, we want them to taste, from island to table.
Awesome. I think that's great, you know, and I brought that up because salt is a preservative. And my theme, my trivia thing for tonight was, what else are we going to preserve as Filipino Americans in our stories and our journeys? Because, you know, when it comes to food, culture, language, obviously 100%. For me, you know, I always say it's like Catholicism because that's a part of my journey, my identity, and my identity in Christ, right? And so I think that's really awesome. In our hands is some ube drinks. Do you want to talk about real quick about these ube drinks?
So the ube espresso martini, all of the drinks, all of the dishes are inspired by pre-colonial Filipino ingredients from when it was native to the Philippines. We're doing our due diligence. We're actually partnering up with Filipino culinary historians to cross-authenticate all of the ingredients that were native to the island. That also comes down to the drinks themselves. So ube was a very prevalent sort of ingredient during this era. And so for us, we wanted to give it a bit of zhuzh, right? So ube espresso martini kept me up all night, ube all night.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from.
Any last things? I think this was great. I really wanted to touch base on the ube, and I wanted to touch base on the salt. And so any last things you want to shout out?
Last thing, I just wanted to thank Mitch and the media production team. Shout out to Film TV Network. Shout out to Collective Hustle, as well as
PHLV
One Down
Radio.
PHLV Radio. Just wanted to thank you all for, you know, really covering our story. You know, I think it's important, you know, as someone who comes from a media production and journalism background, I want to make sure production and what we do, this platform and why we do it, is a priority. So I just want you to know like how thankful I am and grateful, because without us documenting, how can we ever look back on the past? And so we're continuing to move forward, and we can look back on the past. That gives us our reason why.
And then just closing this off, Walbert's running around all night, and I just caught him for a moment. And so he did the Filipino night market 3 months now ago, and so really awesome. Looking forward to these more opportunities and more events. So cheers to you. You're like one of the hardest working people here in Las Vegas representing. And again, when it comes to Film TV, PHLV Radio, we're like the #1 spot for Filipino entertainment. So come to Las Vegas. This is where everything's gonna happen. So the new Hollywood, the new Filipino Hollywood. So cheers to you.
Cheers.
Cheers.